Stop the cap.
This is right along the lines of everything I say and everything I've been saying. So, one of my followers told me that the manifesto for the Jacksonville Dollar General mass shooting was released by the sheriff's department. So I went, found it, downloaded it. I actually put the link in the description box. No, excuse me, not in the description box. I put the link in the on my community tab. Okay. And I don't know what YouTube's policy on that is. They can get funny about stuff like that, but it's the link to the sheriff's department. So if you click on the links to the sheriff's department and then you click an additional link to take you to where the manifesto is, then you can find it that way. So it's not a direct link. It's a link to a link. But I mean, this goes right into, the video that I just did. The economy. I mean, reading the manifesto, 100% written by a Zillennial. 100% written by a Zillennial. And I mean, I don't know much about the shooter. I don't know anything about his life. I don't even feel like taking the time to sit there and go over and look. I know what he looks like, know his name, all that. But let me say this, and I've been saying this, I've been telling y'all black people for many years, probably one of the first YouTubers to go hard in the paint on black people exercising their Second Amendment. But, I don't know what more you need, especially if you actually sit down and read the manifesto. I don't know what more you need. I mean, this guy is calling on, open violence against black people. He's got this thing. He's totally inspired by the Turner Diaries, by the way. Talks about the day of the rope. Talks about TND, which is total ninja death, right? And when I go and I, actually read through it, I'm going to have to change. I mean, he uses the N word so many times in the document. I'm going to, the YouTube algorithms are going to go crazy if I try to read it out loud. So I'm going to have to change the words. He goes in on Jewish people. Basically he looks at black people like they're an infestation. And then he looks at Jewish people they're behind the scene conspirators. But he even questions, some of that. He goes into talking about, the races. He has this hierarchy where white men are at the top. Asians are below that, and he's like Asian and white people are the only ones that have had, civilizations that stand the test of time. Talks about Genghis Khan conquering the white people. So the fact that they defeated white people at some point in time puts them on par with white people, but they're not, but they're not on par. We're still above them. Just so you know, I must let you know that. And then talks about how the Asians are basically the Chinese are slaves, to the CCP, and basically how they they're smart and they are competent and able to do things, but they're still beneath white people. That's how it is. And then when it comes to black people, he looks at black people like black people are just an infestation. And there's a point in there there's a point in there where, and I talked about this before, where these white people act when it comes to black people in America, it's black people just magically showed up in America in 1985, and black people are just the way that they are, and that's all there is to it. We're not going to talk about, the history and the legacy of slavery, redlining, blockbusting, eminent domain, urban renewal, convict leasing, debt peonage, the purging of black communities, racial housing covenants, the freaking 1955 Highway Commission Act and running highways through black communities, purging of black communities like Corbin, Kentucky, Elaine, Arkansas, Slocum, Texas, Wilmington, North Carolina, Rosewood, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? We're not going to talk about that, right? So, all the things that white people have done to America, to black people, that has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with the current state and the condition, of black people in America. And then, he makes this argument that where he's like, you know, um, he acknowledges that black people have essentially been, fucked over, but he's like, yeah, but everybody else was able to get it together. Like that's like his argument, right? But again, doesn't go through the details of, what was done to black people and then what continues to be done to black people. Right? It's right in the manifesto. Um, it's very, it's like not only is it contradictory, but it overlooks, the reality, of the situation. Um, what else does he do in the manifesto? Oh, he talks about how he sees white people's ability to kill and win wars and all this as them being, murderously efficient, which speaks to their racial superiority. The weird thing is his whole argument is about, black men in particular, and how, they're out here killing people and randomly attacking people, right? Even though, right? And he talks about going to the FBI, and he goes off on that 1350 percent rule. But the majority of the homicides in America, in the black community, are black on black violence. But then he says in the manifesto, he's like, oh, the black something about black men attacking, and most of the time the victims are white men or something like that, walking down the street. Hold on, let me see if I can find exactly how he worded it. I'm gonna go back to exactly how he worded it. Where is it at? Let me see if I can find it. He's got problems with the LGBT community. He says women shouldn't have the right to vote. They should vote about things that are not important. They shouldn't vote things that are insignificant. Yeah, here he's talking about the 1350. Where's this at? Anybody, he uses the term ninja lover, throughout the document. He said ninja lovers attempt to argue that this is simply socioeconomic factor, a meaningless term invented by ninja lovers to conceal the fact that ninjas are inherently violent. Regardless, I will indulge these ninja lovers for the sake of those on the fence. Certainly, poverty and the destruction of the nuclear family have contributed to ninjas. Excuse me. What am I saying? Ninjas' behavior. But why is it that only the ninja remains poor and is raised by single parents across generations, while other races either break this cycle within a handful of generations or simply skip over the crime? Perhaps socioeconomics would be worthy of consideration if the ninja stuck to crimes such as victimless drug use or petty theft of food and clothing as poor white people do, but this is not the case, right? So what he's saying here, first off, it's it completely ignores the fact that black people didn't come here by choice. All the other immigrant groups, he's talking about other races, when other races may come here, you know, but the people who come here are, they tend to be at the top of their communities, right? Like if you're flying into this country or whatnot, they're at the top of their communities. Totally overlooks that aspect. Totally overlooks the way in which the black family was destroyed. I mean, the black community was destroyed. He just kind of mentions it and then doesn't really have a full understanding of it. Later on, he talks about how he talks about how if you're gonna convict somebody, you need to have what does he say? You need to have hold on, I'll read the part right here. He says, I personally sit on the fence. I simply do not know the cause of the West moral and societal decay and cannot draw a complete verdict beyond a reasonable doubt. A civilized society does not issue death sentences if there is any reasonable doubt to a verdict. And as a civilized man, I am bound by the same rules. The only cause, wait, what's this? The only cause that I can be certain of is the uniparty in charge of the United States government. The two-party system is a mere dog and pony show to keep us proles. I don't know what the word proles is. I'll have to look that up. Proles in line. I think he's saying proletariats, but that's like the short term. Both parties, with very few exceptions, the rare principal Republicans who refuse to toe the uniparty line, and the state politicians who mysteriously die within a week of investigating the uniparty grand involvement in global sex trafficking, right? So it's like there's a lot of like QAnon like type of like conspiracy. There's the sense of marginalization of white men and Western civilization, which by proxy is an attack on white men. There's the, like he refers to the Democrat Party as like, it was weird. He was talking about like the era of slavery, but then brings up the Democrats and then brings up, which again, the Democrats were white Southerners. They were Dixiecrats, and then brings up, the Jewish people. Like, I'm like, the Jewish people didn't have anything to do with like Southern Democrat. Like it's very, very, it's like twisted. And then it has like moments of moments, I don't want to say moments of clarity, but moments of where it's like, yeah, this is the white rage that I can understand, like, because it makes sense at how, they feel that they're the victims now, right? Like, I can follow that. But when you start getting shit twisted and then you come double back and you start contradicting yourself, like, it makes it difficult to read, because I'm like, okay, I follow this. This sounds like, typical white boy rage. And then, he'll go into, I mean, he's even got like some like weird, where he's like, he's not against, he talks about the maggots with an F, where he's against, he's not against gay marriage, but then he talks about how it turned into a slippery slope to where, he's like, I didn't, like, basically he didn't give a fuck about them getting married and them doing their thing. And if they want to, butt bang each other in a corner, like, who cares? But then it turned into forcing, all the gay stuff, on everybody, and trans, and if you're transphobic and all this other stuff, so like he's, it's like I mean, he's a zillennial, you know what I mean? Like, most of them were open to the shit. But I think, like, when I read this, and then if you look at what the guy looks like, it just screams loser to me. And it's like, you take, like, he has a part in here where he talks about boomers on, what is this? Not boomers. He talks about the economy on, like, what is this? Is it page? I want to say it's like, what is this? Let me see. Is it 19 where he breaks this down? Give me a second. 19. No, not. That's like where he goes. Okay. There is no. Okay, here. Okay. So, like, this is what I just talked about. What I talked about, like, this whole, like, system of despair. And see, the problem is like, white men, like, especially young white men, and this is the whole issue with white supremacy in and of itself, right? Because when you talk about black people and you talk about how black people have an inferiority complex and a victim mentality, and I hate the term victim mentality, because it's like, no, black people are actually victims, because you got people who think like this, and you have a system of white supremacy, and you have white men that want to maintain the system of white supremacy so that they can feel good about themselves. That's why black people end up being victims, because in order for white men to feel, positive about themselves, black people have to be beneath them. And then they try to use, like, the system that they created and how it negatively affects black people, and the outcome of that as justification as to why black people need to be either eliminated or why or as to why black people, should be suppressed, right? So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And that makes black people, the victims through policies and through marginalization and discrimination and whatnot. And it's so, like, when it comes to white supremacy, white males end up being victims of white supremacy in and of itself, right? Because, right, if you believe in the idea of white supremacy, and then you have this system where basically boomers have made it to where, like there's no hope in like, or what white supremacy says that of where you should be as a white man. The system no longer allows that because the boomers vacuumed all the money up, through their, giant, boomer vacuum, and, living, basically, doing the Martha's Vineyard golf course thing, right? Where you can't purchase a home, you can't date, you can't this. And then you throw on the fact that this is like a fat, pudgy white boy. So he doesn't have any of the, he's not taking any of the Rich Cooper talking points. Pick heavy shit up, lift and put it down, right? Go to the gym, have a strong masculine presence. He ain't doing none of that. And so you end up with these white guys that go off and they want to attach themselves to a positive white male, identity. And then they start getting, into the white supremacist groups and white nationalist groups and Patriot Front and freaking Vanguard. And they start going on sites like chimpout.com. And then, like, they have an enemy, and the enemy is black people, or the enemy is Jewish people. And then, that becomes their target, right? But again, like I said, the people that are screwing them over the hardest, economically speaking, are the people who look like them, the boomers, the white elites, right? That's who's screwing them over. And he mentions that, but he's more angry at black people, right? He's like, oh, black people and crime and violence, and that's what the problem is, not the boomers and not the white elites, creating a situation where, and I'm gonna read this part where he says this, there is no life left for young white people to live, right? You either throw away 4 years for a bachelor's only to find out it's not worth the paper it's printed on, and it hasn't been for over a decade. And it hasn't been for over a decade, or you enter the workforce and wage slave until you can only make it to a dead-end middle management position that pays just well enough to keep you able to distract yourself with disposable income. You will likely either die alone with a spouse or with a spouse you despise. The worst part is this is the best system we have. All we can do is try to improve it where we can. We can live peacefully through total ninja death. We can live free, the chains on our necks through total political death. We can avenge those who what is this? We can avenge those who tried before us through total fed death. It is not the 19th century anymore. You cannot fuck off into the woods anymore. You cannot peacefully live off the grid and start a family in the tranquil solitude of virgin forest. You cannot, or you will get the Ruby Ridge experience firsthand. Your only option is to fight. If we cannot live in peace, we must fight until we have peace. Your enemy grows stronger because you do not fight. It's now or never, right? And it's like, right, I understand this sentiment because this is a universal sentiment. And so, like, there's universal sentiments that are in here that are mixed with white supremacy, right? And again, like I said, like to me, it's like there's a certain cowardice with these, white supremacists, where, they're more focused on black people, in particular black men, than they are focused on the system, of the white men that look like them. The motherfuckers with all the tanks and the Apache helicopters and the Tomahawk missiles and all that shit. Like they ain't. They talk about the going up against the government, but they don't really want that smoke. Black people become this convenient, this convenient target. And like I said, he didn't pull up in the hood. He didn't pull up to the trap house. He didn't pull up where Ray Ray and Pookie, are. He went to the fucking Dollar Tree or the Dollar General. You know what I'm saying? He went to the fucking General. Same thing with the Buffalo shooter. You know what I mean? Shooting a bunch of elderly people, a bunch of overweight people, a bunch of poor black people that can only afford to eat a bunch of food that has high fructose corn syrup, which is why they got diabetes and shit. Like that's where he went. You know what I mean? He didn't hit the block. He didn't drive in the middle of the hood somewhere. And then not only that, he talks like he's gonna, delete himself at the end of this, and then his coward ass didn't even do that. Didn't even do that. He was arrested. Right? What else does he say in here? Blah, 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 blah. And then he goes through like this whole like time schedule thing, which is like it's just weird, where he's like he has like this routine. I'm gonna read through it again, but he's just got like this routine, and there's like no real reason for the placement of it. Then he goes and talks about like people of that he wants to mention. There's some white girl that has a picture of him doing the Sig Heil, and he's like, get the picture back, but basically leave her alone. Then he talks about Central Maine Property Management, right? Which is, I'm like, what is this dude doing in Florida? This is the dude that shot up the Florida spot. Like, what does this have to do with? I guess he's from Maine or was in Maine. I gotta look up this shit. But anyway, he's one of these like greater Idaho area, Maine type, because Maine and Idaho are like the whitest states in the country. So they want to have like this white, like all white space. So he's bitching about that shit. Some about how they ruined it. It was supposed to be a white man's utopia. Then he talks about Home Depot. Check out what he says about Home Depot. I want their stock prices to drop so that dumb boomers working those working their loss. Wait, working. Oh, let me read this again. I want their stock prices to drop so the dumb boomers working there lose money on their stock plans. In fact, fuck it. Sell all of your stocks, crash the market. I want every dumb boomer to shit themselves when they see all they have left is Social Security. They'll lose when we take back our home. Right? Then he talks about what is this? Dunkin' brand groups canceled. Kaiser Cynical. I don't know. It's probably because I don't know what he's saying there. Kaiser Cynico. I don't know. Kaiser Sinil. I don't know. Number one reason why the West has fallen. Millions must die. Then he says Ronnie McNutt. What happens to those in my position who chose to go quietly into the night? Ronnie McNutt. I got to look up who Ronnie McNutt is. I don't know who that is. Sounds like somebody who got raided or something like that by the feds. With the quiet. Usually when they talk about that, I'm not going in quietly in the night. The feds probably hit him with some early morning raid or some shit like that, and then they got popped. He talks about Elliot Rodgers and puts Supreme Gentleman with the trademark. And says the only problem with Elliot Rodgers is that, he basically only targeted women. And then talks about how women shouldn't be able to vote. Brenton Tarrant sounds like another mash. Oh, this is the guy that shot up the Christchurch mosque in New Zealand. Then he talks about Anders Breivik, and then basically he's like he's one of the most successful ones. and of basically taking people out. He even uses the term glizzy, talking about a Glock. He's got this. He's a Glock fanboy, but basically, um, Timothy McVeigh talks about how effective he was. He's the ultimate Aryan, right? And again, I forget what was the front line? What was the damn video where they broke down the whole Timothy McVeigh thing and how that, like, the Turner Diaries, Timothy McVeigh, Ruby Ridge, Waco, Texas, the soldiers that came back from Vietnam, and how basically they were abandoned by the U.S. government, going into Rambo and his whole, PTSD, and they felt abandoned by the government. That was like the first wave of anti-government militias. It was after Vietnam, because Vietnam essentially was a loss, and there were a lot of veterans, older veterans from World War II and Korea, that were shitting on the Vietnam veterans. And the Vietnam veterans, I think the average age for World War II was like, what was the average age for World War II? I want to say it was anywhere from 22 to 25 or 26, where like the average age for Vietnam was 19. You know what I mean? So they basically sent a bunch of kids, and some of the guys, they were doing drugs over there. They came back with all type of PTSD. What am I saying? PTSD. And then you get into what was that shooting that they had down there in Georgia? Was the Greenville massacre? What was that massacre called? Let me see real quick. What was that massacre called? Was it the Greenville massacre? What massacre was it called? No. What was that massacre? Was it Georgia? KKK massacre. What was the massacre called? Greensboro. The Greensboro massacre. You know what I mean? So you had like veterans and the Klan members and everything. And then the shit got goopy. And everything that you're seeing now is kind of like a spin-off of that. It's got anti-government elements to it, white supremacist elements to it. So you get like this convergence of white supremacists and ex-military guys coming together. And so like the anti-government stuff gets mixed in with and it's the Jews and the black people, and the government is run by, a freaking cartel of the little hats, and they're, setting it up to basically get rid of the white man. And I mean, there's tons of videos on it that you can go on YouTube and you can look it up. It's real twisted, and like, it's just a bunch of white guys like, oh, we're the ultimate victims and shit. And instead of addressing the capitalist, and then it's so stupid because the solutions to the problem can't even be addressed because they're like anti-communism or anti-socialism. And it's like, again, if you really know the true definition of socialism, or even having a capitalist system that has socialist elements to it, right? That would be better for the proletariat across the board. But again, that they're so, these are like people that went off and fought the wars to fight quote unquote fascist and communist and everything else like that, that they allow the capitalists to just fucking run amok. And so it's unchecked capitalism. But then they sprinkle, anti-Semitism and the idea that basically any other group that isn't a white male shouldn't have any primary say about what goes down. And this is where they feel threatened. Right? So what else do we got in here? He prayed, like, check this. He talks about Sung Hui Cho, who is the dude that shot up the Virginia Tech, the Asian dude, and he's like, proof that the Asian man can kill just as well as the white man. The only cool school shooter, two pea shooters, 33 killed, including himself. See, self deletions really are counted as gun violence. Made a black t-shirt and a ball cap drip I guess he's talking about what he produced. And then he says, testament to Asian efficiency. And this is like, again, more contradiction, right? Like black men are the biggest threat because they're inherently violent, and and they're, majority of the crime, which disproportionately is black men affecting other black men. But yet he's talking about how efficient all these other groups are at killing that aren't a part of what he claims to be the 1350. And the stupid thing is he says the 1350, but then points out that black men only make up 7% of the population. So it should be 750, not 1350, but they go with this whole 13% of the population, which would include both genders. It's like they can't even do math properly. Anyway. What else? He praises Gaston Glock. He talks about the Wendy Goon. I don't even know what that is. He calls the Boogaloo Boys a bunch of larpers and maggots with an F. What else does he say? Oh, he wants Eminem and freaking Machine Gun Kelly, to be, he calls them, you know, um, basically honorary ninjas, and how Eminem is basically a bitch ass because not only does he, embrace, black culture and whatnot, but that his lyrics, are too woke or went woke, and he's like, nah, I'm done with that. Then he calls Clarence Thomas, Justice Clarence Thomas, an honorary white man because he sticks to the Constitution, obviously because he supports gun and the Second Amendment and all that other stuff. And then on the next page, he gives Clarence Thomas an official, of an official TND waiver, and it's like a gold ticket with, like, he's got illustrations in here, right? Um, but then he says, to the few ninjas smart enough to read, I tell you this: your time is coming, and soon. I have deleted many of you, and if I see you in hell, I will do so again. The white man is coming for you. Take up arms. Delete us in the streets as we will do to you. If you can, your days of holding this nation hostage are at an end. We will not stand for your animalistic behavior any longer. This is your last chance to sober up, act civilized, run away to your shithole jungles, or be deleted like the dogs you are. Right? This is what he says. Right? So what he's trying to instigate here is obviously race war, and it's the same thing that freaking the AME church shooter tried to instigate. Same thing that the Buffalo shooter tried to instigate. And again, recognize how young these guys are. Like, these guys didn't grow up in the era of Jim Crow. And this is how they think. This is how they think. And like I said, it's a combination of, the obviously the economic downturn, the telling people to go to college for decades, and they come out and it's like, oh, here's your $40,000 that you can't do shit with, and then these guys, I mean, the awkwardness. I mean, even reading it, I'm like, you ain't spitting game. You can't talk to women like this, right? So that means, so basically, like, what I'm telling black people is, you know, even though he's trying to instigate race war here, strap the fuck up. And when you get around any of these white dudes that look like they ain't getting no pussy, if a white dude looks like he ain't getting no pussy, he ain't getting no cheeks whatsoever, none, I'm saying, flick the safety off and just be ready for this motherfucker to do some stupid shit. If he looks like an incel, if he looks like a beta, if he looks like he just ain't getting just no play, you know what I mean? I'm telling you, be vigilant. Because there's a lot of things that are at play, like, with like how these guys, feel the way that they feel, right? Because you had all this woke stuff that came out, right? Where it's like, and I get pissed off about it because it's like black people, you know, we've been marginalized, we've been, fighting the good fight, talking about, what our issues are, and the left, the Democrats came through and they want to talk about what everybody else's issues are and put them in front of us, right? And so, like, while we're complaining about our issues, you get these other, groups that, don't have as long of a history in this country as we have, and our issues have, primarily not been addressed, and then they come on the scene, and then white men end up being like, it's evil white men. White men are evil, and everything is their fault and everything. And the wild thing is, these young white men, like, they didn't have any say in that shit. They just feel attacked. That's how they feel. They just feel, attacked. And so, it makes it to where a lot of them, in conjunction with the white supremacy that they already have and that they already feel, but it makes them feel like they have to mobilize and they have to act and respond, and they gotta do something, and that all of this has nothing to do with the white oligarchs that look like them, that are sitting up there, that control all the wealth in the Fortune 500 companies and don't want to pay anybody, right? It's not a matter of classism, it's a matter of anti-Semitism. You see what I'm saying? And so, and that's not to say that you don't have Jewish people that are at the top of the food chain. Again, Jewish people kill me with their, oh, we don't have any power, and then turn around, and then you got, Jewish donors, pulling $100 million out of, freaking University of Pennsylvania or Harvard or whatever, because they feel that the campus is not safe and people are being too anti. I'm like, really? You got $100 million to throw around like that? But you ain't got no power. You ain't got no influence. You ain't got no say, right? And you got APAC and all that other stuff. So, as much as people want to run around and say, oh, it's all you just anti-Semitism, it's like, when you really look at it, there's a little bit of truth in there. When you got all these American politicians worried about a foreign country, and their lobbyists not funding their campaign, it's like, and the Jewish people try to, they try to downplay that, but I'm like, y'all sus, and nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to be honest about that. So it's like, the thing that makes like a lot of this stuff dangerous is because it's not like it's not like it's total bullshit. It's out of context. It doesn't, like, how I want to say it. There's so much that's omitted to where it's like, and I talked about this before when it comes to the white supremacists. They start at the symptom, right? And then they say, okay, well, this is what it is. Like, they'll look at the symptom. Like, so, like, you'll have a person that's been smoking for 40 years and they get cancer. And then they'll look at the person that has cancer and they'll be like, oh, well, I mean, they just got cancer. They just got cancer, like, just because. It's like, how about 40 years of smoking? Like, there's no like causation. There's nothing that preceded what you're looking at. And they most certainly don't do this when it comes to, the condition of black people and everything. And I'm saying, this is what's so funny, right? Even though this is not funny, because this is the man that went on a mass shooting spree. But I'm saying that element is so blatantly obvious that even in this white supremacist manifesto, he had to acknowledge it and then tried to find a way to speak around it. You get what I'm saying? He acknowledged, the black family, socioeconomics, and the black family has been dismantled. I'm like, oh, well, there you go, asshole. There you go. You know what I mean? But he tries to, like, navigate it. Well, other people haven't, again, what other people went through, 350 years of slavery and then 100 years of Jim Crow. What other people, or excuse me, 200, I think it was 255 years of slavery. But what other people went through that? Then you throw in all the economic policies, not being allowed to participate in the Homestead Act, not being allowed to participate in the first 20 years of Social Security, Jim Crow, chain gangs, convict leasing, debt peonage, COINTELPRO, racial housing covenants, job discrimination. I mean, like the list just goes on and on, right? Like how, like, and it's just, and we become like the face of, like, because again, they turn on the 6 o'clock news and they look at all this like propaganda against black people. And honestly, when it comes to reparations for slavery, like, and when we talk about just either reparations or even lawsuits, black people are going to have to find a way to, because if you notice all this shit, all this is the problem that people have with propaganda. And this is like, this goes into like, what the guy's name, Goebbels, who was like the propaganda manager for the that party over there in Germany during the 1930s and 40s, right? Where you have, like, there's this, not only it's a dehumanization of black people, right? But you have this propaganda that people are hit with, you know, every night, where the media focuses on black people, right? When it comes to, crime, and even just the way that, like, they'll show the images, right? Like, we've seen like people, robbing stores and stuff like that, right? And you can go on the internet right now, you can find images of white homeless people trying to run out of stores with, 15 jackets and shit like that, but they don't show you that. They'll show you the black people. I mean, I've even caught, and this is Chinese, but freaking Newsbreak. Newsbreak is run by China basically, and they'll have shit where it's just designed to trigger people, where they'll have. I remember there was something. It was like it was talking about. What the heck was it talking about? It was talking about something with a criminal, and the criminal was white, but then the thumbnail had a picture of Kodak Black on it. So if you just read the title and you looked at the picture, and we all know what Kodak Black looked like with his gold teeth and everything, right? He looking like, a young ODB and whatnot, looking scary. And if you just like skim through and you just looked at the title, you'd be like, oh, say niggas, like you would just go, like, that's the type of reaction. And we've all seen this. We've seen this all over the internet, right? We've seen the white people, they be in the comment sections, on anything that has to do with any black crime on the news. And the comment section is just nothing but, he didn't do nothing. The Mondays, what else will they say? He didn't do nothing. I used to remember them all. What else would they say? The 1350. That's another one that they would say. The Usual Suspects. That's another one that's their favorite. And they're just there to just, support their confirmation bias. Then when you get, a situation like Michael Pfeiffer, who was the white boy that shot, Officer Fitzpatrick, who was the Temple police officer in Philadelphia, then they get quiet in the comment section and shit. Anytime there's a mass shooting at a school, then they get quiet. They disappear for a couple of days and whatnot. But like I mean, there's a serious problem with young white men in this country. It's a serious problem, and the way that they lash out, and the way that they they have this entitlement to the world, and this entitlement to, I mean, they got an entitlement to fucking women. They got an entitlement to the system. They have an entitlement to where they think that they should be. Because the thing is like, they think, like, here's the whole, like, even like looking at this guy, right? This guy is a loser. And you look at his picture and he's a loser. Even when he walked through the door of the Dollar General to scope the place out, you can see that this dude is a fat fuck. Okay? He ain't getting no bitches. And yet he feels this kinship with what he perceives to be the accomplishments and the achievements of white people. This is what I talk about, where like the white people's ingenuity is only matched by their savagery. And then you have this whole thing where white people, they want to take all the good, you know what I mean, or what they perceive as good or what they perceive as a win, but they don't want to take any of the negative. They don't want like so them conquering other people isn't a statement to their moral character. I mean, it's hilarious to listen to white supremacists talk about the decline of Western civilization and morality in Western civilization, but then talk about but then ignore how amoral their actions as white supremacists are and the system of white supremacy is. Like like this is why one of the reasons why I got the fuck out of Christianity. You know what I mean? Like why I just can't support it. Like the way that in Western society we have this white Jesus and white Christianity and shit like that, and you can see how sociopathic these people are. They're talking about morality at the same time that they go out here and do some savage shit at everybody's expense. And then when you call them out on it, then they turn around and then tell you it's social Darwinism, survival of the fittest. So I'm like, how does morality and survival of the fittest occupy the same space? So anytime they go out here and they fuck somebody up or they do some savagery, you know what I mean, or they drop bombs on some people or whatever, anything they do is justified. It's survival of the fittest. But then if they get fucked up, if somebody fucks them up, then they want to talk about right and wrong, good and evil, what's moral, what's just, what's righteous and everything. These people are fucking sociopaths. You got to recognize that shit. They don't even see the contradiction in the statements that they're making. The moral decay of Western civilization. This motherfucker went off and shot a bunch of defenseless people and has the audacity to sit there and talk about the moral decay of Western society. And then you have those that have this mentality, and he's probably one of them, of well, you gotta break a couple of eggs to make an omelet. So in other words, it's sacrificing these people is worth it to achieve their goal of a white ethno state, because that's ultimately what the Day of the Rope is. If you read the Turner Diaries, it's the book is just an orgy about what would happen if the white supremacists got their way and they just would just be able to just purge, okay? Which is basically what the movie The Purge is, because that's really what the movie The Purge is about, which is eliminating, the undesirables, the poor and the minorities. That and it really, the first purge, you don't really get it. The second purge lays the shit out. If you ever watch, I think there's 3 purge movies, or is there 4? There might be. I think is there 3 or 4? I think there's 4, maybe. I don't know. Y'all can tell me in the comment section. I watched them all. I just can't remember how many there were for some strange reason, because it was such a while ago, and they always space them out. The first one was good. The second one was okay. It was a little bit too revealing, and then the third one was like, okay, now you're gonna, there's good people in the system that created the system, and now they're trying to they're in there, and now you see that one of the main orchestrators gets taken out herself. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, and yeah, that's pretty much the end of it. Reading his thing, but let me go back to the beginning and looking at this. Yeah, he talks about, he basically, he's got some history in here where he talks about he's read up on history more than the average person, and he's comparing the races and their empires and how long they lasted, and what they accomplished, and the things that they did, and only the white man and the Asian man have made civilization that stand to this day. The English have existed in some form or fashion for nearly 1,000 years, the French even longer. The Roman Empire survived for over 1,500 years and arguably surviving to this day as the Vatican City. The Chinese dynasties have accomplished the same, though in a much rockier, much bloodier way. The Japanese as a nation have existed in some form or fashion since the first millennial through was normally very fractured up until contact with the white man. The Hans, the barbarians that they were, made a formidable match for even the Roman Empire, though their existence was short-lived. The Mongols nearly conquered the white man prior to the death of Genghis, making the Asian man the only race to have overtaken the white man militarily at any period in history. A respectable people indeed, right? Like so he's like, so we're going. It still like reinforces the model minority, right? But he goes on to basically say that they're still, beneath them. One of the things that kills me is where he's like, where he talks about Africa, and he's like, yeah, and talk. Wait, where's he talk about John Wilkes Booth? He has in here. Oh, where's it at? He has a part where in here where he talks about John Wilkes Booth and how Abraham Lincoln was going to send all the black people back to Liberia, and how John Wilkes Booth disrupted that. And then he goes on to say that, without the white man's charity, like black people wouldn't have survived in Africa. I'm like, if that were the case, then how the fuck did the white man go to Africa and get tens of millions of slaves and put them on the boat? I guess before the white man showed up to Africa, we were all in West Africa just starving to death until the white man showed. I mean, like this shit is just like, it's like it doesn't make any fucking sense. And again, I think that a lot of this has to do with, and this kind of goes back to, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and it's not just the fear of white genetic annihilation. That's part of it. But and this goes back to, I think that the praise that Asians are given with the model minority thing, I can't separate out the fact that, okay, they praise Asians. Yes, Asians are achieving X, Y, and Z, right? Even though we talked about that article goes to white people past, like they try to use Asians as this model minority. Like, okay, there's other people other than white people on planet Earth, and black people basically need to act like Asians, and we wouldn't have as much of a problem with they act like Asians, even though we marginalize and discriminate against black people in this country based on the historical context of black people in this country, which is black people came out of slavery. We ripped away their culture, their identity, their orientation, their hierarchies, all that shit. But we're going to ignore all of that, right? But the thing is Asian men are not seen as a sexual threat. And this goes into, like, you can go to YouTube channels like Based Rice Man and all the fucking, I think he's up to like 6 hours of Asian, what is it? Asian white male, Asian female videos of just basically Asian women and white men shitting on Asian men. Asian men are not seen as a sexual threat. And if Asian men were out here stealing all the white women, or there was the perception of Asian men stealing all the white women, going back to the video that I did talking about, my little joke with Darth Sidious, saying black men are seen as a threat. Everywhere young white men look, you know what I mean? And they got the same problem as black women. You talk to a black woman that's single and be like, hey, chick, why are you single? That's because all these niggas is out here with white women, right? That's what they say, because that's what they see on TV with the athletes, right? Even though the majority of the black athletes are with black women. But the white media doesn't show that. They want to show you Kim Kardashian and fucking Reggie Bush. They weren't in the face of Megan Good when she was with the football player that she was dating. They don't want to show you the black NFL players with their black wives. They don't show you that. They'll have you thinking every black man out here is with a white woman. And then you throw in, the pornblacked.com, right? You throw that shit in there, right? All the interracial porn. I mean, the word or the phrase interracial porn is synonymous with a black man dicking down a white woman. Why doesn't interracial porn mean anything else? How about a white man fucking an Eskimo bitch? Nope, can't. How about a white man fucking a Hawaiian bitch? Nope, can't have that. How about a Pakistani dude fucking a Inuit woman, or fucking a woman from Iceland or some shit like that? How about that shit? Nope. We don't do. That's not what interracial is. What interracial is blacked.com. That's what interracial is. And so, like, there's this reality of white men feeling sexually impotent. And again, it goes back to the white guys I always tell you about, the one that's like, what did he say? He said, oh man, black men cheat the system. I've never heard that said about any other race of man. The idea that black men are somehow so masculine and so virile and so, physically dominating, that black men can go out here and off of big dicks and swag have sexual access to other races of women. And the fact of the matter is that is true. Like we can talk about, oh, black men, you don't have this, you don't have that. Black men ain't built this, ain't built that. Everybody knows that for some strange reason, black men have sexual access to, all these other women. We're not talking about marriage. We ain't talking about none of that. Every man on the planet, and I'm saying largely it's based off of white men and their promotion of their fear from birth of a nation and everything. Every man on the face of the planet fears black men fucking their women. Black men are seen as like the greatest disruptors of patriarchies, because patriarchy stipulates that, okay, if you're a man, you have to be productive and you have to build and you have to lay down a foundation, and then only then you will be blessed with a wife. And only then you will have sexual access to her, and you will be able to fuck her on a regular basis and produce children and then facilitate your legacies and generational wealth, right? But then here you got the black guy coming through, and he's fucking all of them. He's fucking the white bitches. He's fucking the Muslim bitches. He's fucking the Asian bitches. He's fucking the Latina. I mean, he's just fucking them all. And there's like this fear, this anti-blackness, anti-black male fear. Then you throw on, the athleticism through, black male domination in sports. There's a lot of sexual and physical insecurities that revolve around black men. And there's only a handful of people, that are honest about that. If we really, dive into it. Kat was telling me about a while ago about they had some talk show, and there was a white guy. He was a white supremacist, and he admitted it. He was like, black, and even though it's like it's just stereotypical, but it was like back in like the 90s or something, and he was talking about how black men, they can dance better and they can move, and we know our women are interested in them, and and that's their fear. And so you throw on, like I said before, you throw on the bad economy, right? It's like, what do white men have if they don't have stability? They got nothing. They got nothing. The stupid thing is the game and the swag and the charisma and everything else that black men have is the direct result of the economic disadvantages that black men have had, that was created by the system of white supremacy. Like, in other words, it goes back to what, Divine said a long time ago, Divine Brown, where she talked about how, like, basically, like, regardless of whatever these conversations lead us, you still got to live your life. Like, the credits don't just roll. Just because there's a gender war and you say, I'm done with them, right? You still got to live the rest of your life. Like, the credits don't just come rolling down the screen. You see? And so, damn, what was I going to say about that? About, no, what was I going to say about that? There was something I was going to say about the credits rolling and white men. And I think I was going to say something to the effect of, like, white men you know, like, damn, what the fuck was I going to say? Hold on a second. Damn, I totally lost my track of thought. I forget what I was saying, where I was going. But anyway, it's like white men don't have anything after the stability is gone. You know what I mean? Like black men develop these game and the gift of the gab and saying the right things because at the end of the day, and again, the white guy that I know that we have these conversations, I mean, like I said, he said the shit point blank, period. He said, I think that white men underestimated female nature. With all that Victorian, Gilded Age type of stuff, milady, all that bullshit, and at the end of the day, women are like the wild cards of nature, right? Where like patriarchy is like, at the end of the day, women negotiate their survival with men because, that is what patriarchy basically was. And I still believe that, even with women working in the workforce and everything, like they're not going to be able to get away their nature. Most women want a man to make more money. Most women want to be, freaking taken care of and all that other shit. They just want to be able to have veto power of whatever shit that they don't like. You know what I mean? And if you're depending on somebody that controls all the resources and the wealth in the household, you don't have veto power. And so women, all this strong independent shit is all revolves around they want to have fucking veto power. But at the end of the day, they're still, attracted to strong, virile, masculine men. And, it's like the mistake that EL's made, when they're like, I'm smart. I was like, Cap always praises me all the time because he was like, you were always on the why can't I be both type of shit. I was like, hell yeah, I was. Why can't I be educated and go to the gym? Why does it have to be I got to be Steve Urkel if I'm smart and then I got to be some dumb jock if I got muscles? Like, why can't you just combine the two? Like, I don't, like you study for a period of time and then you take, your free time and you go to the gym and you fucking work out and that's what you do. And that way you're a well-rounded individual. But no, that's not what people do. People get on the fucking Xbox and they get the tokens to build a character and Madden and shit. And they be putting all that shit in stamina or like all the tokens in like power, but then they got no speed. Like they don't balance the shit out. Then they got a fucking freaking oh yeah, man, I got my quarterback is super fast. Yeah, but he's got no, I don't know, fucking stamina or some shit like that. And so every time he even gets touched, he fumbles the ball. Like what good is a fucking wide? Oh, he's fast as fuck, but he fumbles the ball every time he gets it because you didn't balance out your stats. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm keep going off into tangents, but I'm saying, the environment, because think about it. Like, I mean, I'll give Nigerians some credit, because and the thing is like quiet as is kept, and this is what adversity really does to you, because when people talk about the scamming Nigerians and they're scammy, and Tariq's always talking about tethers and Nigerians they're the scam artists. They're scam artists because in the 1970s, which I think is when the Biafran War happened, the freaking Nigerian students that were here in America that were getting money to get an education in America, they got stranded by their government when they were here in the States. Like, just imagine you're in college, you're doing your thing and everything, and then all of a sudden your student loans stop because your government is having a civil war. So they had to figure out ways to try to survive while here in America. And so, they started doing check fraud and all other type of shit. And then you got into all the, the 509 shit. Some of them were like trying to send money back home. I mean, it was a whole mess. But if the Biafran War never happened, you would have never had the Nigerian, scam shit that popped up as like whatever, a subculture. That would have never happened. So the thing is like what white supremacy kind of ignores is like you put people in particular precarious situations. Human beings are going to do what human beings do, which is adapt. And they adapt to that situation and circumstance. And so the whole thing with black men having game and swag and knowing what to say to women and even going to the gym. I mean, I was watching a video on TikTok of a white guy. He was making a joke, and he was like, he was like doing curls, and he was like, I have been training for several months now, and I have finally achieved the physique of a black man that has never worked out a day in his life. And I was killing myself. I was like, oh, that's funny. I was like, that's real funny. In other words, he's saying like black guys are just built like that, and us white guys got to work out to be built like that. It's shit like that. The other thing is just like, again, not paying attention to shit you're doing. What the fuck did you think that you were gonna get when you got 255 years of fucking slavery and the horrific situation and condition of breeding black people like fucking animals? I'm gonna take this slave and I'm gonna pair it with this slave, and so I can get a super slave. Like I said years ago, I'm like, what did you think you were gonna get? Fucking midgets? What do you think? I don't know why black people are dominating, the sports all over the place. Why are black people so good at athletes? Why are black people, they're running faster and jumping higher and this, that, and the third? Well, y'all was running basically a bunch of 1800 genetic experiments on black people trying to get a bunch of super slaves. And then you're surprised that your women want to sit on a bunch of black dick? You're surprised about that? When you got a muscular black dude standing over 6'2", and freaking athletic and shit, you're surprised about that? That you helped, facilitate, his genetic superiority. You're surprised about. That's what's so funny about the white supremacy argument. I'm like, you over here making black Wolverines and shit. You know what I'm saying? And they just totally overlooked that fact. And then they feel threatened by it. And like I said, if white men don't have stability, right? Because again, you got the classes, and the boomers basically vacuumed up all the fucking wealth. They don't give a fuck about their grandkids, right? They're like, I got 10 years left. I'm going to enjoy my 10 years left on the fucking golf course. Fuck my kids and my grandkids, right? And then you got white men that have been told that they've been promised, this America and always being, at the top of the food chain. And then literally the carpet has been ripped out from under them. So now, that makes it very easy for them to fucking look around and be like, yeah, white power. Yeah. Patriot front. Yeah. That makes it very easy for them to go and want to join something and have some sort of positive male identity. Then you got the noise in the background. You got the LGBT community. You know what I mean? Shut up. You're a white male, right? And then you got black people, that are like cracker ass cracker. You know what I mean? Like, and then you got fucking, the foreigners, like they're bitching. You Americans, you bomb my country. You white men, you destroy us, right? So you got that. So they feel like they getting attacked from all angles and shit. And that's why you see the type of shit that you see in these manifestos and the shit that they're thinking and whatnot, because they want to still feel like they're on top. They feel entitled to that. They're like, my ancestors, they conquered the world for me. And I want what's promised to me. And ain't none of y'all lesser beings gonna take that from me. That's what the fuck they're on. And the crazy thing is, right, like, I can see if, like, like, the part that gets me is, like, when you look at these white guys, like this frumpy ass white dude, right? It's like, it's amazing to sit there and claim yourself to be superior, but you're actually a loser, and you're at the bottom of the totem pole of even the white hierarchy. This is where white supremacists don't want to acknowledge class. This is why every time you try to address or check a white supremacist, they always try to they deflect like a motherfucker. It's the Jews. They always deflect to Jewish folks. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to acknowledge that there's actually a hierarchy within white society and that they're at the bottom of it. And what they should be doing is forming Voltron on the premise of class and on the premise of freaking, which age cohort that you're a part of, which is not the boomers, to basically get it to where everybody, can get, a bigger piece of the pie that's in the younger generation cohort. But they don't do that, because what they want is they want them to have, I'm living in the big house in the suburbs. I'm the one that's got the car. I'm the one that's married and providing stability. Fuck everybody else. You see? And so everything then becomes this conspiracy theory about how all this stuff is conspiring to destroy civilization, which is tantamount to destroying whiteness and white maleness. And that's why you see this in Europe, you see this here. That's why they're focused on that shit. You know what I mean? And they don't really grasp the fact that the white oligarchs have never given a fuck about you. They gave you crumbs. They made you a little bit above the nations and the countries and the peoples that they were exploiting. And you as the overseer, you fell for that shit hook, line, and sinker. And you think that shit was like a promised, position and whatnot. And they're waking up and they can't handle it that they're actually in the same boat as everybody else who's been exploited. And they're mad because they are white. They do share the same identity as the white oligarchs that are exploiting everybody. They share the same identity. So basically they get all of the condemnation and none of the benefits. Because the white oligarchs now, again, like he said in the manifesto, they don't want to pay you shit. They're making you a debt slave. Your college degree ain't worth shit. Now you're buried in student loans. So they get all of the negatives of being a part of the white community and none of the benefits. And this is where you see this type of lashing out. I hope I made myself clear. You know what I mean? You just gotta like back up and look at it. A lot of times black people, when you get into this, y'all get real emotional and y'all just label even Professor Black Truth and Black Authority and some other people, y'all don't try to really understand these folks sometimes. Sometimes y'all just, white supremacists is white supremacists. What's there to talk about? And they just kind of leave it at that. And I'm like, no. You got to understand the pathological mindset. You know what I mean? Why are they so angry? What do they feel like they're losing? I mean, it's easy to say, oh, they feel like they're losing power. But seriously speaking, have you heard anybody really detail it like I'm trying to detail it in this video? You haven't heard anybody do that. I see the shit for what it is. I'm like, I know why you're mad. And then, again, like I said, black, the economy's bad, and then somehow a black man still has access to Becky. I don't recall reading anywhere in here where he talked about rape or sexual anything. I could be wrong. It's probably somewhere in there. Because when I was first going through it, I was actually getting the phone to just speak it to me. But there's a couple parts in here where you got to read it manually because I don't know, it's a different formatting and it won't fucking read it to me. So I had to go through here. But, he probably mentions it somewhere in there. Usually it's mentioned in the manifestos. It's something about, freaking miscegenation and breeding, getting bred out and disloyal white bitches or some shit like that, But again, like the white guy that I tell y'all about all the time, he just said it point blank, period. He's like, putting out that birth of a nation and everything just to, oh, black men are a sexual threat. Oh, don't let just everything that surrounds that. Oh, they're violent. Oh, they're aggressive. They're this, that, and the third. And so he's like, don't y'all know that white bitches like that shit? You know what I mean? You sitting there, it's like, yeah, stay away from him. He's got a 10-inch cock and it'll rip your vagina apart. Stay away. And then she's like, ooh, 10 inches, you said. You know what I'm saying? She's over there like, ooh, oh, he's, strong and muscular, you said. Oh, he's dangerous, you said. Women like that shit. You ain't scaring bitches off. You making them more intrigued by telling them that shit. Oh, they're just aggressive. They're aggressive, Veronica. Stay away from them. You know what I mean? Stay away. You're my precious gem. Stay away. You know what I mean? They over there like, plain and simple. Go. If you think I'm lying, go rent Belly and sit your white woman on the fucking couch and play the scene where DMX fucks the shit out of Terrell Hicks at the beginning of the movie and just let her watch the movie, just turn and watch her fucking face. Watch that shit. You know what I mean? Like those base instincts for women, those shits don't go away. They do not go away. And when women are the number one across the board, the double talkers. You know what I mean? I want a man of God, and I want a man that's basically acts like an Amish man, and he praises Jesus, and he's well behaved and well mannered and respects women and respects his mother and blah 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 blah, all that bullshit. And the next thing you know, they're running around giving you shit tests. You know what I mean? I just wanted to see if it was in you. I just wanted to see if you were the type to step up and protect me if something were to happen. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't a bitch. Wait, what happened to, I'm a Christian man, turn the other cheek. What happened to all that? They don't give a fuck about. Women don't give a fuck about that. They want a straight up fucking savage. That's what gets their juices flowing. That's what makes them feel protected. That's what makes them feel like, he's just. That's why these women go for bad boys across the board. They're attracted to bad. If they could get a bad boy to actually be faithful to them and be productive, that would be their choice. If he was consistent, he was making money, he was supportive, and he was a bad boy, and he had tattoos, and he went to the gym and was killing it, 5 times a week. You know what I mean? It's just, the shit that, there's videos. You can just look at it. Like, have you seen the videos of the women making these fucking responses to the guy that like chops wood? He's a white guy. He chops wood. He's married, by the way, but they just be like, he's just chopping wood and shit like that and grunting and stuff. And the women are just like, oh Lord, oh God, oh, clutch the pearls, And then there's another video that had a guy, he was a carpenter, and he was putting the carpet up against the wall, and he was like slamming the damn, I don't know what it is. It's like some carpet thing that pushes the carpet up against the wall, and he was like humping the shit. And there's a whole bunch of videos of women just passing out looking at that shit as he thrust, to put I'm like, this is what women like. Y'all motherfuckers running around acting like women love your brain. That's total fabrication, total lie. You need to get with the times, base instincts. That's what women are into. And again, between like the wokeness and the fucking, the way that men across the board have been like sissified, and it's crazy because even the women, the feminists and shit like that, they'll sit there and I want a feminist man, and I want a man that understands and believes in egalitarianism and equality and da-da-da-da. Women will tell you that bullshit, and they'll be sitting on the cock of the motherfucker that's a straight savage. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucker got a big ass, you know what I'm saying? Fucking, samurai scar over his eye and shit, and he just looks like he's a straight assassin. That's who she's fucking sitting on the cock. It's like, is this your dude? Is this your man? Motherfucker walks in the room. Omae wa mo shinderiru. You know what I mean? You sitting there like, what? Like, the fuck? The motherfucker just walks in on some ninja shit. You know what I mean? So, I'm just saying, these what women are talking is totally different. And I feel like the white guys haven't got a memo on that. They literally think that they're going to be able to, again, I'm going to go out here and 1950s it and leave it to Bieber and be the primary breadwinner and provider. And that's what's going to get these white bitches juices flowing. And it's total bullshit. It's total bullshit. And then again, the avenue to even getting that has essentially been cut off and ripped out from under them. So now they only got the only choice that they have is become a media influencer or some shit like that. And again, a lot of guys don't have the fucking charisma to fucking do that. What's so crazy is this guy is actually a fucking decent writer. He's actually a decent writer. He literally could have done something with this if he wasn't filled with all this fucking hate. He could have written some books. I'm saying if he spoke like how he thinks and writes in here, even though this is hate filled, it's like, it's actually well written. That's about as best as I can say about it. It's well written. And I'm like, this dude's no dummy, but he's like scramble brained. He's scrambled brain, and he doesn't even have all the answers. And that's the crazy thing, because I'm like, these guys are so young. It's like, and this is the whole problem with people, right? That think fucked up shit like this. It's like, okay, I can understand why somebody would observe something and then immediately go to thinking some fucked up shit, right? But it's like, you gotta fucking, you know, have somebody to bounce your ideas off of. You gotta talk to the opposition and look at the prism from a different angle and be like, well, I think this because of this. And then somebody breaks the shit down to you and you're like, damn, I ain't never considered that. But the problem with a lot of these white supremacists, they got all the answers. Let them tell, they know everything. They got all the motherfucking answers, when it comes to this shit. And they just, fucking, I mean, they make their decision. I'm going to go off and I'm going to do this because they got all the answers. I don't need to know anymore. I don't need anything to be explained to me. Even though right in here, you know what I'm saying? Like right on the fifth page, I personally sit on the fence. I simply do not know the cause of the West moral and societal decay and cannot draw a complete verdict beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, so why the fuck did you go off and shoot up a bunch of black people then? You know what I'm saying? And again mentions the fact that the black family, it's the socioeconomics are not there, which means the job opportunities are not there. The very same thing that he mentions when he talks about being a wage slave and how your college degree don't really mean shit. And you done spend all this money on a college degree and you can't get gainfully employed and be able to purchase a house and start a family. Hello, that's the same thing the black people are going through that you mentioned in your manifesto, talking about, why the black community is all fucked up, which is going to have a direct impact on, I mean, to sit there and not make the connection, you acknowledge the socioeconomics is not there. You can look at yourself as a white male and say, if I'm not making a certain amount of money, I can't even date. I can't even get bitches because I can't even get an apartment. I can't get a house. I'm not a viable candidate for a fucking relationship. So if that's what you're going through as a white male, what do you think black men have been fucking going through? And then it's always, black men, they don't want to be fucking father. Well, maybe the whole situation where, you can't support a family is the primary reason why you end up with these broken and busted households. You can try to make it work, but without the money, it ain't gonna fucking work. It ain't gonna fucking work. I don't care how much you love your fucking kids. You to sit there and come home and listen to your wife nag you and disrespect you and just, put you down because, nigga, why do I need to listen to you? You ain't got this, you ain't got that. Now, personally, I think that, if you can't provide for a family, you shouldn't be having any goddamn kids. And you should, be about the business about trying to, get your money up. That's what I think. But, again, I've been confronted numerous times on the subject, that, it's human nature. And even, again, Tucker Carlson with his recent commentary when he went up to Maine and basically he's up there talking SWP talking points. Tucker Carlson went up there and said the same thing. And the women are not going to stop having kids. They're going to keep having kids with men that cannot provide, because being a mother is a part of womanhood and that's just what it is. And the biological imperative, which is a phrase that I use because I definitely think Tucker Carlson has been listening to my commentary, but that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, the what do you want to call it? That's what women are going to do. They want to be moms. Please. The dusty dude is actually the perfect dude to go out there and do that. Because he's just happy and giddy that he's getting some fucking pussy. And eventually he will slip up. Because as I talk about, get used to having sex with condoms on. Because the minute you take that shit off and you're in a relationship with a chick, it's impossible to put it back on. You've been fucking her for 6 months with no condom. Oh, baby, maybe we should start using condoms again. Are you cheating on me? Like, that's what the conversation's going to be. It's going to look like it's a violation of trust. Huh, I know what it is. You went out there and fucked another chick and you got chlamydia, and now you're afraid to give it to me, and you know that if you fuck me without a condom, you're gonna give me chlamydia, and then I'm gonna go to the doctor and then confirm that I got chlamydia, and then I'm gonna know that you were cheating on me. Ah, right. That's what it's gonna be. So now, like you're stuck smashing the chick with no condom on. Even if she's like, oh, I'm taking my birth control, and then she just decides not to take it. The next thing you know, oh, I'm pregnant. And now you in a situation where you ain't got no money, no resources, no nothing. You got a fucking baby on the way. Yeah. And she's going to go off with the baby and be happy for the first like couple months with the baby. Oh my God, the baby's so cute. Until the baby goes off to kindergarten, and then she realizes like, or not even kindergarten, daycare. And she realizes like, oh my God, babies are so expensive. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden, you're a deadbeat. You're not doing enough. Why did I even stay with you? And then next thing they're on Tinder talking about, single mama of a boy, looking for love. No, I got no time to waste. Then they're up there making posts like that. If you're not serious, then don't even message me. Then they'll be up there saying that bullshit. So why did I bring it up? But anyway, but this is where things are, and I'm saying you gotta understand. This is why all that shit that y'all brothers are doing on TikTok and all that, going up to white couples and embarrassing the white boy and all that other shit. Stop that shit. Stop that shit. That shit is, y'all millennials, y'all real bad with this. See, us, millennials and old, we know what time it is when it comes to that shit. For the most part. There's still some dickheads among us that do some stupid shit like that. But all that shit, it just adds to the manifestos. It adds to the next mass shooter. You know what I mean? It adds to the miscegenation concepts and ideas and getting bread out and all that other stuff. It adds to that. We are the sexual threat, which I know some of you all are like, y'all smiling and shit. You're like, yeah, that's because the no one can resist our melanin. Y'all talking some stupid. That's because we the original man. Y'all talking all that dumb shit. Yes, you've been heavily promoted, as sex objects. You've been heavily disproportionately promoted as, powerful athletes and all that shit and everything, but you're not taken seriously in any other avenue. That's what you should be concerned about, because you're fucking men. You're not goddamn sex objects. You're not things of beauty. You're men. But a lot of y'all, are still running around, happy with the idea that you're out here getting pussy off of the strength of nothing. Y'all just all giddy about that shit. But real talk, you're not respected. But again, the optics coming from other races of men, they're mad that they gotta bust their ass off and have all this material wealth in order to get the pussy that you get just off of the strength that a bitch is feeling you because you whispered a couple of sweet nothings in her ear. They feel some type. I have talked to enough of these motherfuckers to know, of all races, they feel some type of way. Especially like Indian dudes. Oh man, they super feel some type of way. You know what I'm saying? They're like, I mean, they're mad as fuck about that shit. I gotta have this, I gotta have a PhD, I gotta have an MD, I gotta have a house, I gotta have all that just so I can be in a fucking relationship. Just so a chick will even look in my fucking direction. And then I only get to sample one, which is basically the chick that they marry and lose their virginity. I only get to sample one. Where y'all black guys, y'all just out here just tasting the rainbow and shit. That's what it looks like to them. And I know that all brothers are not engaging in that. Again, 54% of black men, are childless. Contrary to popular belief. Again, the majority of all men of any group are childless. But again, you gotta, perception is reality. What they see on television, what they see with, Nick Cannon, this dude recently that's got 5 baby mamas. I don't think any of them are black. You know what I mean? He's got 5 women pregnant at the same time. Black dude. You know what I mean? And it's like, what does he do? Who is this dude? Like, what does he do for a living? You see what I'm saying? Like, so you got motherfuckers out here that are accomplished, went to Harvard, all this. They don't get to do that. You know what I mean? And contrary to popular belief, even though men know that they're not supposed to do that and they're not supposed to go out there and, have a situation like that, low key, for a lot of dudes, they kind of fantasize about shit like that. About having a harem of beautiful women and I'm fucking them all and they're all on my dick and yeah, and then when they see black guys doing that, they feel some type of way. Just like a primary example, and I know I'm getting off topic, but all this is important. I'm putting it all together. White women, when they look at black women, you know what I mean? They don't want black women's situation, right? They don't want, to be, a member of the black community. Right? They want to still maintain everything that gives them white privilege and white beauty standards. They want all of that. But they're envious of the independence that they perceive that black women have from their own men. And it's the craziest shit because white women will sit there and they'll be like, yeah, you go, Keisha, you go, girl. Yeah, that's right. Women power, all that bullshit. They'll sit there and be talking that shit and then turn right around and be over there in Jamal's face. Yeah, that's right, Jamal. Them black women, they got too much attitude. And, us white women, we don't like that. And then they run back to the black women when they're with Jamal and start talking about, and you black women, the reason why your men ain't with you is because you don't know how to be a wife. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that. Whoa, Becky, what happened to all that fucking you go girl, sister girl power and everything? Man, they throw that shit out. You know what I mean? Jamal hits him with a few strokes and they throw that shit right the fuck out. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing where there's this like love, hate, envy thing going on, with black men when it comes to other races of men and how they look at black men, where like they resent us, they hate us, they have contempt for us. But then when it comes to some of the things that we do, they're like, man, why can't I do that? Why can't I run through some bitches like him? And then that's when you see all these other races of men that they start doing shit, trying to imitate black men all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like you got the Indian dude in India, I'm a black nigga. You know what I mean? Like I started seeing dark-skinned Indian, South Indian dudes. They go into the gym like crazy now. Y'all seen them? They go in there like 3-4 deep. You know what I mean? The motherfucker's last name is Ramaswamy or some shit like that. Come in the gym. They start working out. They weren't that dark-skinned Indian dudes. The dudes that are the children of the IT guys, like, they wasn't doing that. That's new. That's some new shit. You know what I mean? But again, for a dark-skinned Indian dude, which some of them are darker than African-American men, who makes dark skin on a man look worth anything? African-American black men. So, and they see African-American black men working out, lifting weights in the gym, and now they've jumped into working out and lifting it. I scroll through TikTok and they'll have it'll be a video of a black dude. They'll even have some Africans in there. Because some of these Africans, the Ghanaian niggas, like, what y'all eating and shit. But anyway, they'll have the Ghanaians or even, African-American men. And the shit'll be dubbed over with like some Punjabi rap or like some South Indian rap, some Tamil rap or some shit like that, or they'll have I don't even know what the shit is saying, just some Indian speech over a black dude on a bench press in Ghana, freaking bench pressing a bunch of looks to be a bunch of rotors or cogs. You know what I mean? Because they don't have the 45, 45 pound plates. They just got the cogs and shit, and they'll just be up there. And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, why? Who dubbed this in Hindi, or who dubbed over this in Tugalu or whatever? Who dubbed over this shit? You know what I'm saying? Like in the fucking Indian language. You know what I mean? So now, because they get shit on. They're the Dravidians. They're the original Indians, which, originally hailed from Africa, but that's a whole nother conversation. But, they're like, yeah, that's the only place that they get any type of promotion because India is colorist as fuck. So, we're seen as the big time sexual threat. And I think that when it comes to, all this anger that's directed at us, right? It comes down to that sense of feeling sexually threatened by black men. The crime shit, that quiet as kept, all that shit is secondary. Again, you can't say black on black violence, right? And then you say that you want to, I want to go out here and delete some black men, right? Well, I'm like, well, aren't black men already doing that themselves? Right? Like the fantasies that these guys have about race war and all that other stuff don't make any sense. And I'm saying that is a point that some white supremacists have all actually made. That point was made in American History X. You know what I'm saying? So like, again, the way that this dude's ideas are half baked. I'm like, black men are already killing themselves. Inner city gang violence is, 85% of gun homicides are black on black violence in the inner city. Gang related narco economy violence, inner city violence. And then he brings up in the manifesto, and most of the time they're white. What does he say? Look, here it is. The ninja, as stated above, takes joy in deleting. The ninja takes joy in hurting others. The ninja will assault a stranger on the street, typically a white victim. And when the ninja begins to lose the fight that it started, every surrounding ninja will more likely than not join in. Right? And this is like, black people will be like, and I had to think about it. I'm like, we talk about the divide in the black community a lot, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, I think that most black men would jump if there was, especially over the last couple of years. Yeah, if a black and a white dude are getting into it, unless the black dude is just totally in the wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah, black guys are going to hop out the car. They're going to pull a Montgomery, Alabama boat, river boat shit on your ass. Yes, that will happen. But I'm trying to think. And notice this happened after the Montgomery. The Dollar General shit happened after the Montgomery, situation. So that might even be what he's referencing. But there's a lot of times where black people are like, oh, the other black people, they didn't do nothing. They didn't come and save me. You know what I mean? So it's like, it speaks to kind of believing in stereotypes more than actually understanding like what the culture is, or like what's going on. But I'm trying to think. I'm like, yeah, I guess he's kind of right about that in terms of black folks jumping in. But that's because black people are very familiar with, and angry about white people just getting away with whatever. They pull some racist shit and they think shit is sweet, and it's like, no, it's not sweet. There's a lot of black people, they've been waiting and fucking digging your ass because of all the racist ass shit that they put up with their entire life. Like that dude that in the Montgomery boat shit, you know what I mean? That was with the chair, was cracking that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like they were saying that he was like in his 60s or whatever. I saw a different picture. I saw a dude that looked younger, but black don't crack, so I don't freaking know. But yeah, man, a lot of black people are fed up with white people and their bullshit. And this guy, he's in his 20s or whatever the heck he is, young. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm just like, I get it and I don't get it. I'm like, what have you gone through? Like, really? Like, in terms of the history of this country, to have all that type of hate in your heart. I just think it's misplaced, and it comes from, a different place than what he's saying in this piece. It's coming from, I'm a fat proletariat white guy. I don't have any fucking money. You know what I mean? I can't get any bitches, and I'm just going to, channel this anger into another place that has nothing to do with, you know, nothing to do with the actual things about me that, I could correct, or even the system itself, that I should be more focused on. Nah, they're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? These guys, I mean, think about it. Just go through your head. Go through your head through all the last couple of white mass shooters, and you tell me which one of them look like they getting some bitches. Go ahead. Tell me which one where you saw the picture of the dude and you was like, damn, he's good looking. You know what I mean? Damn, that looks like a guy that walks into a bar and the women can't keep their hands off him. He's got to beat them off with a stick. Like where? Show me. Where is that going on? No, these guys are quintessential beta incel, looking dude, again, like Elliot Rodgers. I'm a supreme gentleman. The narcissism is just through the roof. His shit was just that video that he had years ago. If y'all ever saw it before it was taken down, that shit was wild. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm gorgeous. I mean, look at me. I'm gorgeous. You know what I mean? He was just, that shit was hilarious watching that shit. I'm just sick in the head. But if you go and you talk to, based Riceman, and there was a YouTube channel, and his videos got taken down. Some people are saying he deleted himself, but there was a YouTube channel called I think it was Asian Tiger, and he was a half white, half Asian male, which again, the half white Asian male, the hafu, or Asian males, they don't get the same love that the hafu females get. He called out his mom and dad for being, self-hating, and both of them having an inferiority complex, saying his dad couldn't get a white woman and his mom, was basically white worshiping. And, he was going ham on a lot of his talking points. And there's a number of videos of these half white, half Asian guys, that they have a serious identity crisis. Because they're not Asian enough to be Asian, and they're not white enough to be accepted by the white community. And then there's another, and I'll tell you what a lot of them do to try to gain like a white male identity. They'll join the military. You'll see a couple channels of them on YouTube. They take on a very white conservative persona, and they join the military because that gets them away from the lack of Asian masculinity and puts them into, hey, I was over in Afghanistan shooting motherfuckers. So, and then I'm fighting for my country and everything. And that kind of gives them like the white male pass, because you know how white males love the, I'm patriotic and I'm for America. And then usually they'll talk real sideways and bad about black people, talk about, my bootstraps and personal responsibility. They usually do some shit like that. But there's a couple of them. They have YouTube channels floating around, and you'll see how conservative leaning they tend to be, and they don't speak their native the Asian language of any one of their Asian parents, and they really disassociate themselves from their Asian side, and they sound and talk like white guys. You'll find more Asian guys that are full Asian that will lean into and identify with the black community than the other way around. But not the other way around, than they will into the white community. You know what I mean? Like there's like, you got your little Charlie Cheons, but those are like first generation immigrants. But when you get into like the Hafu, they tend to lean more towards white. And it might be because typically the dads are going to be white males and the wives are going to be Asian females. That might be the correlation there. But the full Asian dudes, like, and a bunch of Asian guys have been honest enough to acknowledge that. You know what I mean? It's like we don't really have a hypermasculinity, and Asians got a bad reputation. So if we like pick up the lingo and kind of act like black dudes, then people like they react to them a little bit differently. And that's a whole nother conversation. But in any event, I'm just bringing all the shit full circle because there's areas of overlap. There's areas where, you can see where it's like, you can understand where the origins of this shit are coming from, but you just got to put the pieces together, and then you're like, oh, okay, I see it, I see it, I see it. But, unfortunately, you get people that they channel their anger, their frustration at a lot of the things that are going on in the wrong direction. Sorry, but black people don't have anything to do with why white birth rates are down. They don't. The majority of black men are not with white women, not even close. Their black men have nothing to do with why, your job, the why you went to college and you're, $80,000 in debt, and, you come out and you get a job that only wants to pay you $38,000 a year. We don't have anything to do with that. Black men have nothing to do with why the average home in America costs $430,000 or $420,000. I think it came down a little bit. We don't have anything to do with that. We don't have anything to do with why, you need to make, $120,000 with no other debt in order to qualify for a home. We have nothing to do with that. You see? We have nothing to do with, I could just keep going. We have nothing to do with why the freaking U.S. companies outsourced, their manufacturing overseas. We have nothing to do with that. You see? Literally nothing to do with that. But y'all don't understand that. We have nothing to do, with why the United States government and the military industrial complex sends billions of dollars to fucking Ukraine and billions of dollars to Israel. We have nothing to do with that. I know you got to love how they always got to get the black person to go up there. Black people need to stop being the assistant principal of white supremacy. The assistant principal, you know what the assistant principal job is to do? To do all of the nasty, ugly, horrendous shit that the principal doesn't want to do. That's the job of the assistant principal. The assistant principal gets all the shit work. The assistant principal is the disciplinarian of the school. The assistant principal deals with all the bad kids. That's what the assistant principal does. Okay, the principal gives the glory. They go and they give the speeches and they do the schedules and they have final say and shit. And then they got to answer to the superintendent and whatnot. But the assistant principal, it's the shit job. And there's a lot of black people that are so eager to feel like, they're a part of the American system, and they went and they worked for the government and everything else. And then they go up there and they end up being the face of all the shit. Nah, send one of your white representatives to raise their hand and say no to the ceasefire. Send a white person to go do that shit. Nah, but they always go and they get the niggas to do it. And the niggas always fall for the shit. Making us, look bad and shit. Like, why is it all of a sudden there's all this overrepresentation of black, people in the U.S. government? I'm like, whoa. Now you want overrepresentation of black people. Any other time, it's underrepresentation. It's like, oh, hey, black dude, I got a shit job for you to do. Hey, yeah, go up there and be the only motherfucker saying no to the ceasefire. Like, the fuck? Black people, we got to have a conversation about staying on code. Because some of y'all be fucking it up, and we're gonna end up having one of those Monique, Steve Harvey conversations where y'all gonna sit there and we gotta go back and forth about, I got kids to feed, I got family to support, and because we don't own nothing and we don't control nothing and we don't have nothing, I can't. I want to speak up. Yeah, what they did was foul, but we can't say nothing because I got to have my Mercedes. I got to feed my kids. I got to support my family. My mama, she ill. I got to pay her mortgage. I ain't about shit, Monique. I ain't about to stick my neck out here for you. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you made your own bed. You need to lie in it. I ain't going out there. Then we'll both be out of a job. It's like, oh, God, it's awful. It's awful. It's fucking awful. But Anyway, I know this video is long. I'm up there 2 hours almost again, or past it, but I had to lay this sucker out. I'm probably, now that I done talked my head off, I probably won't make a part two and actually walk through it again. I highly suggest you guys check it out and read through it, because you need to understand how these people think. Okay, and you got to understand it, and you got to embrace the ugly reality of it, instead of running around on some Nikki Haley shit. Oh, racism doesn't exist. America's not racist. And all that dumb shit. People, I mean, you gotta really embrace the level of hate that's in this document. And again, the scary part is the fact that, yeah, these unassuming, non-threatening, you don't take them seriously, those are the dangerous ones. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see, a handsome Grant Wellington III white guy that has, a fucking potential and access to women and opportunity. You're not going to see him shoot the fucking place up. You know what I mean? You're going to see, just like, in the Middle East, the motherfuckers running around screaming Allahu Akbar and blowing themselves up. Those are the fucking losers. You know what I'm saying? Those aren't the ones that got the shmoney. Those ain't the ones that are the Arab Emirati, dudes walking around in the robes and shit like that. Got his kufiya, all comfortably sitting on his head. Like then, the ones walking around. Yes, I bought several Ferraris. Like, no, that's not Mustafa. Mustafa don't blow himself up. You know what I'm saying? Ahmed from the village, who grew up in poverty, walking around with dusty ass sandals. That's the nigga that's gonna blow himself up. Not the one that actually comes from some money and lives in Bahrain or some shit. Like, he ain't the one. He ain't the one. The one that you always find on YouTube fucking playing with tigers and shit. That's not the one that's gonna blow himself up. I promise you that. You know what I'm saying? It's the one that's gonna blow himself up is the one that lost his two parents in a fucking Israeli airstrike and shit. That's the one. That's the one they gotta watch out for. And the same thing applies, to these, mass shooters and shit like that. The bug-eyed white boy, the white boy that just looks weird, the fat one, the one that's got pimples and zits all over his face, the one with the patchy beard, you know what I'm saying? It's like, shave that shit off, motherfucker. You clearly don't have enough freaking testosterone receptors in your face, to freaking grow the beard like you should. Just cut that shit off, man. Those are the ones you got to worry about. Anyway, that's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. I'm out. And if you would like to support this channel, please do, because I put a lot of time in this, especially making this video. So that's my video. SWP out.